Hi, this is Mrs. Mutter, and this is a little video on how to organize your digital notes. That means the notes that you are taking and organizing as Word documents using your note-taking template that can be found in the research folder on your D2L website. So I'm going to walk you through what we're doing with the notes, a couple different ways that you can organize the notes that should be helpful to you when you go to do your research paper, and then a way of collecting the notes so that you can submit them to the Dropbox when it is time to submit them for the draft, for your rough draft for the research paper. So let's get started. Okay, here we are on the D2L website, and if you go under Content Browser, you'll find the folder that is marked Research Paper. And what is important for you right now is the note-taking template. Also important is an example of the note-taking template filled out with my commentary that's available for you so that you can understand the how and the why of taking this type of note or these types of notes for your research paper. So let's take a look. And I have talked about this already, I believe, in all of my sections. But what we're doing here is making sure that all of your sources, and I'm asking you for the notes to find a minimum of 10 sources that you think might work for your paper. Whether or not you put all 10 sources into your paper is another story. But for the draft, you're going to find 10 sources, and you're going to be using this type of note-taking template to record the information and analyze it and synthesize it and interpret it for your paper. So you're going to want to make sure that each one has your name, your research question. This is going to be crucially important, the subject of your notes, and then the citation for the source. Now, if you have 5 or 6 pieces of information from the same source, that's okay. You can just cut and paste this initial information. The subject of your notes may change, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. You'll put in today's date, and then you're going to tell me in this section you're going to be doing what we've talked about in class. What does the text say? So you're going to be restating the material here. This is your place to paraphrase and summarize. And if you find an amazing quote that is best suited to be word for word in your research paper, you may add a quote in here as well. But in the bottom section, the ideas, this is where you're doing your thinking about your notes. So what you write in at the top that you're restating will correlate or correspond in some way with your ideas about the things that your text says or the things that your source says. So you're going to be trying to figure out what does the text do, how is it approaching the subject, and then what does the text mean? So how are you interpreting the information that you're finding in your sources? Okay, and then I'm going to show you some ways to organize it. So let's do that now. Okay, so here is the example notes that you have in your D2L. And I have it set up so you can see the commentary, but I've removed the commentary just to use it for the example. So when you're writing your notes, when you're taking your notes, you're always going to put your research question, and then you're going to have the subject of your notes here, and this will be important when you go back and look through your notes and you reorganize them outside of the labels of the titles of the articles and the essays. When you really start to think about how your paper is going to be organized and what key ideas you're going to be using for your paper and where you're going to put them, then these subject headings will become essential to your arranging and to your organization. So here we have the MLA citation. It's ready to go so that you can use it later. So take the time to get it correctly formatted in your note card so that when it's time to do the works consulted page and later on the works cited page, you'll be able to just cut and paste from your text right here. Alright, and so you notice that the date is here so that you can keep track of when you accessed the material. And then here is where we have restatement as paraphrase or summary, And also, if you need to use a quote from the text, this is where you would put that quotation. And notice that I've taken the time to put my in-text, my parenthetical citation for each one. So if you do that while you're taking notes, it'll be very easy to use it in your paper later with the in-text citation. If you don't, then you're going to have to go back and find the page number and find where you found the source. It'll be more difficult later. So just as a general rule, the more time and effort you put in now, the easier time you will have to do your paper later. So you may choose to use a variety of organizational methods for figuring out how to organize what the text says, and then to reflect and interpret and synthesize what the text is doing and what the text means. So if you notice, I prefer to do numbers. So number 1 here, that is from the text of the essay from Whitehead, is going to correspond with number 1, which is going to be my own thoughts and my own ideas about what Whitehead is saying. Okay? And each one of these notes that I'm taking on this note card will all be reflective of this subject heading. So I won't have anything else on this note card except ideas about mothers outside of marriage. Okay? So once you have filled out your note card, you're going to need to put it into a folder and have some type of system of organization for your ideas, and we'll take a look at that now. Okay, so I've set up in my documents library, if you look, I have here my notes, and when you type in your file folder, when you have your file folder with your digital note cards, you're going to make sure you have your last name, your first name, and then however you want to title it. Notes for your research paper. If you have a working title of your research paper, you can go ahead and use that as the title of this folder. Inside, a good way to organize is to have all of the essays and all of the articles be their own folder. Okay, have them each out. So you'll have 10 folders within as subfolders within your main digital note card folder. And what I've done is given you an example. I've created 2 note cards from the Whitehead essay. This is found in your textbook. And then I have another source by an author named Williams, and this essay is The Decline of Fatherhood and the Male Identity Crisis. And what you'll notice is, you may be noticing that there are 2 note cards, 2 note card documents that have the same subject matter. I'm going to show you what we'll do with that later, but for right now, when you are initially cataloging your ideas, what I would like you to do is take your note cards and put them in the source notes here. So you'll cut and paste. I have mine open now, but you'll cut and paste, and you'll put them into the file folders. So we'll do that here. So when I open the file folder, and here the labels that I'm using are the last name of the author. Now, if the last name of the author, if there's no author name, then just go with the title of the article or the title of the essay. But I have the title of the essay and the author to help me keep track. And then on the document itself, I have the last name of the author. I have the number of the note card from that source. Okay, so this is source card number 2. And then this is my subject matter in my source note card. Okay, so now let's look at a different source card. I have a different source. This is not from the textbook. It's found online, so I've gone ahead and I have put in my MLA citation. Notice that I have the URL so that I can put it in my Works Consulted page, which I will tell you about a little bit later in this video. And again, mothers outside of marriage is the subject of my notes. So even though I'm using a different source, this source has a lot of ideas about this subject, about this topic, so I will be able to put those ideas, the restatement aspect, like I've done before, here in the first part of the chart, and then when I think about and synthesize those ideas, I'm going to use my same exact system, and consistency is key here. Please make sure you use the same system for each of your source cards and each of your sources so that you understand your system and I can understand your system when I am grading it. So I know that my number one is going to correspond with the number one idea that has been restated in the text. I have my in-text citation ready to go. And then I am using, once again, red, the color red, to differentiate between when I am describing what the text is doing, description, and what the text means, my ideas. Okay? And I write notes to myself like, for number 3, I know that I have this statistic. I know that I've read something about this statistic about coming up, being a single parent and being in poverty. I just have to find that statistic because it wasn't in this particular article. So I've made myself a note to go and track that statistic down. So what do we do now that we have similar topic headings but from different sources? Well, here's where digital note cards are going to work in your favor to help you organize your thoughts, not just for the outline of your research paper, but when you're going to write the research yourself. Okay, so once you have all 10 sources, you've found them and you have put them into folders, and then you have all of your source cards organized. You should have 50 source cards. So right now here I have 4 source cards, 2 source cards from Whitehead and 2 source cards from the Williams essay. What you can do then is begin to arrange them the way that you'd like your paper to be written. And so I've created some new folders to show you a different way to organize. So this is where having that specific subject heading on each note card is going to come in very handy. So what I'm going to do here is put this subject matter as the title of my folder. Okay. And the same thing for the fathers. And these 2 very specific pieces, Mothers Outside of Marriage and Fathers Outside of Marriage, are answering my research question. So the ideas in these folders are going to be answering my research question. I'm going to be breaking it down into those 2 sections. So because I have one note card from Whitehead that is Mothers Outside of Marriage, I can put that into this folder now. Okay, I will no longer be needing the folders for the sources themselves, because in an essay you're not going to be separating your ideas by the sources, you're going to be separating your ideas by the subject matter. So you're going to be connecting the subjects and not necessarily the sources. So let's do that together. Okay, so because I have this source that is Mothers Outside of Marriage, I'm going to go ahead and stick that in this folder. Now Williams also has an example of Mothers Outside of Marriage. I'm going to put that in this source folder now too. And for Fathers Outside of Marriage and Role of the Fathers, I'm going to go stick that in my new folder called Fathers Outside of Marriage. Now when I go to write my rough draft, and I go to write my outline, what I want to be looking at then is the key ideas within these subject headings. And because I have taken the time to do the work and organize and label each of these source cards, I will have all of my information ready to go when I need it. So I won't have to worry that I have 2 different sources in the same file, because I have the citation information already written down on the card for each one, so I won't be confusing sources and the paraphrases and the summaries and the quotes from the different sources. You have now created a method where you can move and manipulate your source notes to get it into essentially the exact outline for your paper, and you can do all this digitally without having to put it down on paper as you get started. So use this as a tool for organization once you have gathered all of your sources. Okay, once you have organized your sources, once you have taken them from your initial 10 folders and said, okay, I have all my source information, now I'm organizing them and I'm pulling the ideas and putting them together, and I can put 2 or 3 different source ideas together, and that will support the concepts that will reinforce my thesis, they'll answer my research question, I'm feeling like I'm in a good place. Now it's time to talk about your works consulted page. So for the Works Consulted page, the difference between Works Consulted and Works Cited is that when you have a Works Cited page, that is all of the sources that you are using within the text of your writing. So all of the in-text paraphrases, summaries, and quotations that you use will go in your MLA Works Cited page. But because you haven't written your essay yet, because you're just providing me with an outline, the thesis statement, and your sources, we call this the Works Consulted page. So you have consulted these sources, but you have not used them on your paper. And the reason why I ask you for 10 sources for this particular paper, for your Works Consulted, and only 5 to be cited on your final essay, is because sometimes you will look at a work, you will read an article, but you'll end up not using it in your essay itself because it doesn't quite work for what you're trying to do or what you're trying to say, the ideas you're trying to present. But I still want to know that you've done the work of reading that article and taking notes on that article. So I'm going to give you credit for looking above, around, upside down, and finding all the perspectives on your topic, even if they don't make it into your final paper. So this is the place to do that. And if you've taken good notes on your note cards, then you already have all of the information that you need for your Works Consulted page to submit for your draft. You also have that information. You can just convert it and edit as necessary to your Works Cited page when you go to turn in the final. So be sure to save this document because you'll be recycling this information and relabeling it as Works Cited if you use the sources in the text of your essay. So I already have Barbara Whitehead's essay up here, and it is in MLA citation format. And then, so if I want to then go through and find the others, I will pick my other sources here. So Williams is the second one, and I've moved him. There we go. Williams is here. Now, on this source card, I already have this information. So all I have to do now to create the Works Consulted page is cut and paste. So let's go ahead and cut and paste. And then we're going to make sure that he's there. Now, I want to just be clear, when you are cutting and pasting, I'll show you the original cut and paste and what it looks like. As I'm cutting and pasting from here, even though this font is the same font as the other, when I go to put it on the page, it may come out as a different font, a different size, etc. So see the difference here? This is a different font and this is a different font. You don't want to have on any document that you submit for any college class variations in font and variations in font size. So you want to take the extra time to make sure that you have it in the same font and in the same the font size. That way everything will look even and streamlined. So this will have to be reworked in order to get it to up to par. It's in the wrong font, it's in the wrong size, and then you can go ahead and edit as necessary for the indenting. Okay? And you'll have to play around with it to get it as it is. If you're using a website like Bibliography Help or any of the other sites, sometimes they do this for you, but you are the final responsible person for your Works Consulted, so please make sure that everything is professional and everything is consistent on your page. Make sure that your first line is flush left to the margin and any other lines are indented. And if you have a website and you need to cut the URL in order to make it fit on the line, try to cut it at the backslash as much as possible so that you are keeping a consistent section as you're blocking the text for the MLA format. So this will have 10 sources on it, and you are required to have a minimum of 5 sources in your final. Okay, so once you've done all that, then you will have taken all of your notes and you will compress them into either a PDF or a zip file. Or you can take the time to cut and paste all your documents into one Microsoft Word document, but that will be time consuming. So here are some ways that you can compress your files to get them onto the Dropbox for submission. Okay, so one way to condense all of your files, because you'll essentially have 50 Word documents if you're doing the note-taking individually, as I've shown you how to do on your in your Word documents. One way to do it is by taking the multiple documents and combining it into one PDF file. Now you can only do this if your computer has a subscription to Adobe Acrobat Pro. Some of you may have this, your school may have a paid subscription to it, in which case you are going to follow these instructions to combine the documents into one PDF. You'll merge them all into a single PDF file, and then you can upload that PDF onto your Dropbox into the draft Dropbox for research paper. So you make sure that you've made your final edits, you select your documents, and then when you're in Adobe Acrobat Pro, you can choose your file, choose Create, and then click Combine Files into a single PDF. Okay, and then make sure that it's selected, single PDF, and then as you add the files and folders that you want to combine, you're going to click Add Files. Okay, so then you can combine all your Word documents into that single file. Now, I realize that not everybody has this tool, and that's okay. I'm showing you this one, so if you have it, this is probably the easiest way to do it. However, there is another way that is almost as easy and takes maybe even less time than converting it this way. So I'm showing you this version, and once you've combined your files, then you can share your PDF and archive the document to upload it on D2L. So let's take a look at another way to do it, and that is through a zipped folder. Okay, so if you say to me, Mrs. Meyer, I don't have Adobe Acrobat Pro, I can't do what you've just told me how to do, then you could try zipping your folder and compressing the files and then uploading it all at once into your Dropbox. And then I can, when I'm going through, I can unzip your files and then I can look at them individually. And so this hopefully will streamline the process for you getting your things into Dropbox on D2L. So if you take a look, this is the folder that has all of our information in it. It has all of our sources. All the file folders will be organized. So you want to take your largest file, the actual file that contains all of your subfolders and all of your Word documents, and make sure that you have it labeled with your last name, your first name, and then the title of the notes. And then what you're going to do is right-click. You're going to go to Send To, and it says Compressed Zip Folder. So you're just going to click that, and it's going to create a copy of your file that is compressed and zipped. Okay? And then you can take this, and it will have all of your documents compressed, and you'll be able to just upload this one folder that is zipped, that will have everything in it, onto D2L. If you're having trouble converting it into a PDF, or if you're having trouble zipping the file and uploading it onto Dropbox, please send me an email and we can work with your computer. I know some of you have Macs, some of you are using Chromebooks, and they have various different idiosyncrasies and ways that they want you to handle different types of formats of documents. So just be sure that you're able to do it. Don't do this at 11:53 p.m. on the day that the assignment is due, so that you can make sure that it goes through clearly. So here are the requirements. I'm going to put this up on your news section for D2L, but just so you have them, here is what I am going to be grading for your rough draft. You will submit one document that has the research question on it, the thesis statement, and a sentence outline of your paper. This is all going to be on one document, and you can see page 595 of your textbook. That will have a sample research paper complete with a sentence outline, so you can follow it. Make sure that you're doing the formatting. It's an example of MLA research, an MLA research paper, so you should be able to just use that formatting to write your own paper. And this, as always, will have the class heading on it. You do not need to do the word count for the outline, and you don't need to have a word count for your digital notes or your works consulted page or the family inventory. You just need to have a word count on the final essay that you submit. So one document is going to have these components: the research question, the thesis statement, and the sentence outline. Then you're going to have another document that is your works consulted list. Please make sure you label it works consulted and make sure that it has your 10 sources in MLA format. Then you're going to have your digital notes as a PDF or something similar. If you can't do it in PDF, it's okay. It's perfectly fine to submit it in a different way. The zipped folder is fine, like I showed you, or you can try it in another way. Just be sure that you are submitting all your notes as one document so that you are not submitting 50 individual uploads onto D2L. And the last document that you're going to need to submit is your family initial inventory questions. And those are found in the research folder of D2L. And they're the ones that you should have completed already when we first introduced the idea of researching with the theme of family. So these are the 4 things that I'm taking a look at. You want to be clear, you want to have meaningful notes taken, you want to be sure that you are able to synthesize those notes, so think about them, think about what they mean, think about interpreting them, how they are being said, not just what is being said. And as always, be sure that you use correct and appropriate grammar, punctuation, and sentence structure. If you have any questions about what you need to submit or how you are doing a particular part of the assignment, or if you are doing a particular part of the assignment correctly, please feel free to send me an email and I will respond hopefully within 24 to 48 hours. Okay, thanks and good luck.